Josh D is already in my grill about why we're late. I'd like to be on time now, but you're right, Josh D. We were in the wrong room. We were in the wrong room.
Bad link.
Bad link. We were in the 7:15 show, but this is funny. Wiley, that would prevent me from being on time. I mean,
have you ever bought a shirt from Banana Republic? I haven't bought a shirt in Banana Republic in 20-something years, and even then they didn't fit me.
Yeah, Banana all the time.
Republic. Oh my god,
it's the only stuff that does fit right.
Yeah, because you're tall. Yeah, you're tall, man. Yeah, it does not fit my shape at all. Even when I was thinner.
I've seen pictures of you from not too long ago.
I'll send you a picture of me at Yankee Stadium in high school when I played at Yankee Stadium. I'll send you that picture.
John was like magazine model.
Yeah, no, not quite that. No.
Yes. Usually we're doing a show with JBC tonight, but he's on a plane from Vegas. He went to the Sphere for MMA, right?
It looked crazy. That looks sick.
It looks sick, and he said it was even better than you can expect. So I do love doing shows with you, John. Stats. I don't want to give away your name. I don't want to dox you.
Dox me all you like.
Okay. But I think you're one of the sharpest people at our company, and I do love doing shows with you. You're really good at content. So people who aren't used to me and you doing shows on my feed, my Twitter feed, this guy is all brains. So I'm up to the challenge today. Usually I can razzle dazzle Mark, but now I'm like, oh crap, I got stats.
Mark's actually smarter. He just sometimes maybe I think I fake it a lot better. I think that's what it is. But Mark's pretty bright.
Did he text you to say that?
No. I have to admit it every once in a while. He knows what the hell he's doing. He's pretty good. He just looks like he doesn't.
No, I do love Mark, and our shows have been really good. Yeah. This guy's all brains. You can't get it right. I flipped
the camera. It's not as easy as you think.
Okay, so tonight, I looked at. I've been in the Discord with these guys. Some really sharp takes. If you've seen the NFL chat here last hour or so, I looked at the showdown projections that I put together for myself for Miami Buffalo, and boy, were they shit. That was the strangest way to 31-17 I've ever seen. We were done early. I don't know about you.
I mean, I liked Buffalo in that game. I don't have as much of an opinion on. I do like this more. I like this game more.
I love this game.
The showdown slate. Well, let's see if we agree. I don't know if we're going to agree here. We'll find out. We didn't speak much before this, but I went back and watched both of their games. The game with Philly is a little tough because of that field and everything to get too much of a read on it. But I feel like I got a good feel for tonight, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so what's your game script, like raw game script right now? If you had to pick a score,
I'll pick a score. I would say I think this game goes. I think it goes over. So I'm going to say, and I think the game is tighter than people. I think Atlanta is going to put points up in this game, unlike what a lot of people, from what I'm seeing, are thinking. I watched this game. If you want to jump right in, I mean, I watched the game last week. And I was only watching bits of I had a Pittsburgh bet last week, so that worked out well. So I was really watching Red Zone. I didn't get a lot of the gist of the game. And then when you look at the stats, not really impressive. I think Cousins threw for like 155. That was a lot of game script. And the fact that Pittsburgh's defensive front is just so good, in particular Watts, just was disruptive in that game.
So it's the Eagles.
No. I'm saying, but the Eagles don't have that. So when I'm looking at that game last week against Atlanta, I don't think they're going to get as much pressure. I thought Cousins looked fine when he was I hear all these things about, Cousins looked like he was washed up. He was fine when he had a little bit of time. I think he's going to have plenty of time to throw the ball tonight. So I think he'll put up much better numbers. I think we can catch Atlanta at some low ownership this week in the showdown.
I have Falcons covering. I have it close like you. I have Eagles winning, but I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta did. I have it 26-23 right now. I think the market's 26 on the run total for Eagles. I think that's right. I see 3 touchdowns. What do I have? 3 touchdowns, missed point after, 2 field goals, something like that. and then 2 touchdowns for the Eagles. 2 touchdowns for the Falcons, and the Atlanta kicker doing something with his leg. So, but I have it in that sort of scoring output, and then I've modeled it after that. It's showdown; anything can change. But the difference tonight is, unlike the Miami Buffalo slate, where it's like, okay, who's the high output price, who's the high price, high output guy that's going to score tonight? Well, you got AJ Brown, and where do I need to find value in order to fit these guys all in one lineup? The difference tonight is, which I like better. I don't like that AJ Brown is out, but slow math. Yeah, we're working through it. TJ, 5-minute timeout for TJ. The difference is you got a $10,000 superstar who's rarely out. And so now it's not a matter of finding value to fit these guys in. It's you're looking for the raw output because you can afford it with a stud captain. That narrows down things for me a lot more. And I can punt out these $200, nose breathers and not worry about it. So is that your sort of philosophy?
It is. And the other thing is the whole running back situation. I think on both teams, we've had some, in the past, Philly, you never could kind of figure out where they were going to go with running back. I think that's been obviously solidified here. This is Barkley's team now. This is his show. There is some talk that he was, they do want to limit him a bit because they want to save him for that for the playoff run. But if the game is close, I don't see him getting limited. We didn't see much of Gainwell at all last week. So this will be Barkley's game to pretty much get most of the snaps. I think the same is true on the other side of the ball. We didn't see a lot of Algier. They're going to use Bijan Robinson. So it's a rare situation in the NFL where you've got two teams now that are pretty much have a bell cow type of running back. So we've got kind of that piece figured out. The difficulty, I think, on this one is looking for, can we find anyone cheap? There is one guy that I would take a shot on at the lower prices if you want to get into that. I think the only guy is at $1,000 is Wilson if he plays.
If he plays, otherwise it's Covey, right?
Yeah, you could go Covey, and then if you really wanted to get crazy, if Wilson doesn't play, they'll probably call Paris Campbell up from the practice squad as a $200 if you need that real $200 punt. I don't know if he's going to get any playing time at all, right. But if you want to take a shot there, but it could be Covey if it's not Wilson. But I think if you look in the betting markets, the Wilson numbers, not bad to score a touchdown. I think plus 25 or plus 2,800, something like that. And nobody else is really close in that super cheap range. So that would be a guy I would look at. He's not going to get a lot of attention on a team that's missing their best wide receiver. Someone else has to get in there and catch a couple of these passes, maybe get in the end zone. So,
but do you need it? Do you need it? You need it on a superstar captain script with a Bijan, like a Saquon Bijan. You potentially need it. But you don't necessarily need it if Bijan doesn't get there, right? If he's a 15 to 6, he's projected for 20 tonight. That would indicate a touchdown, right?
No, his projection. Are we talking about Saquon or
we're talking about Bijan, right?
Bijan. So
he's
Bijan,
the one I brought down some.
They're both. If I did some quick math just looking at the betting markets. And they're basically he's projected slightly better than Saquon in the betting markets when you look at that. Saquon's got the better numbers as far as projection on touchdowns, but they're both projected right around 100 yards combined, rushing and receiving. I think Bijan is in the market is like 4.5 receptions, and Saquon's 2.5. And then you're looking at a minus 190 for the touchdowns for Saquon to like minus 130 for Bijan. If you take the VIG out of that, you're basically looking at give 4 points for a touchdown to Saquon, give like 2 to Bijan, but they're about the same number here. So I kind of like Bijan getting probably lesser ownership. The price differential is not much, but probably going to get a little lesser ownership. So if I was going to pay up at the captain spot, I would prefer Bijan over Saquon here.
They've elevated Campbell 10 minutes ago from the comment section
So
here.
that probably, so that means that Wilson's probably not going to be in there. He had a hamstring issue on Saturday. So
okay, so Campbell is in. Covey could be your $1,000 star in that instance. The other value is on the Atlanta side runs through three guys. It runs through Pitts, Bijan. At least these guys play a ton of the game. Bijan, 89% of the routes. Pitts played 100% of the game last game. Still didn't have a monster game, but still gets a touchdown. And at 6,800, even we were talking about a 440-1 type game. That's 14 points. That's pretty good for a $6,800 guy. But again, you're looking for if you get an Atlanta touchdown guy, he's going to likely be on the winning lineup. So I could see Pitts being that guy. And then Drake London plays 100% of the snaps last week. Everyone is, I think, at 7,800, because it's still value, is going to be chasing London, right? But I think I read a stat. I forget who it's from. Of course, I'm so terrible with names and recall and memory and general, just using my brain. He said that out of the 34 games Drake London has played, he's finished in the top 10 of wide receiver point output for DFS twice. So at a $7,800 clip, I have a tough time getting him to 12 points without a touchdown, right? Is he kind of a trap?
No. I think you're right there, and he's probably. I think at the 7,800, I actually think you could probably go. I was kind of looking at Mooney, who needs the deep ball on that side. He needs the deep ball, and he
played 95% of snaps.
Yes. Now he's going to have to, like I said, he's going to have to go deep, which means they're going to have to get protection. What I watched last week was a lot of quick. Everything was very quick and short in the passing game for Atlanta. I think you may have the opportunity here. Now, some people are going to disagree. Maybe the Philly pass rush is going to be better than I think, but I think they may have some opportunities to hit it deep at 5,400. I think that's worth a shot. And really, in the red zone, we're looking at. I mean, Kyle Pitts only had 3 looks. They only looked at him 3 times last week. One was a wide open touchdown. I think it was the only touchdown of the game. Looking in the red zone, we might get Pitts. So I could see getting off of a Drake London and maybe going elsewhere, taking a shot with one of these other receivers, pass catchers here for Atlanta.
Yeah, because Ray McLeod, perhaps the best value on the board at 3K, even at a 7-point projection. That's 3 for 40, and he had a great week last week.
He was getting all the looks because of that, because he ran all the intermediate routes.
But now people are like swallowing it up because of recency and saying, "Oh, it's going to happen again." Well, everything in NFL happens the opposite the next week.
Yeah, I mean, everyone adjusts. The offense adjusts. The defense sees what you did last week. They adjust. Look, that was that game against Pittsburgh. Atlanta was playing they were basically played into Pittsburgh's game. Pittsburgh wanted to slow that game down. Tomlin's as good as it gets. He knew what he had. Listen, Fields is a terrible thrower of the ball. If you watch, I mean, he's just awful. But obviously he's athletic and he can run, and they really ran the ball fairly well in that game. So Pittsburgh was going to basically take the air out of the ball. Atlanta knew, look, they can't go deep. They were getting pressure on them constantly. So they played really kind of hand the ball off to Bijan, short intermediate routes with Cousins. Really, that game got flipped because they had a shotgun snap, hit the guy in motion. That was one of the turnovers, and then a couple of interceptions that were really based on the pressure that they got. So I think if they can hold up on the offensive line here, we may see a couple more deep shots than we did, because they really didn't go deep. Pittsburgh was actually able to go deep on them. So I think we'll see some deep shots here by both teams. I think that's something that Hurts can do well. And that's really moving on to like a Devonta Smith, who also needs the deep ball. He's not a red zone type of guy. He needs the deep ball. I think we could see a couple of deep shots from both teams in this game.
I think that, jumping to Devonta Smith, just on no touchdown output alone, he's there. I mean, he's there. He's like a 17 to 18 point guy. He's going to get he got everything with AJ Brown. Now he's going to get everything, and with a touchdown, he could rival Barkley for the highest grossing point output on the slate. So Devontae Smith for me is definitely there. Would you do on the Atlanta side going back? Would you do a min one rule of those three? Ray, Mooney, and London, min one, max one.
I'm going to be really bearish on Ray in this game. I think I'm going to let other people kind of overreact to what happened last week. I think that was more of an anomaly. I don't think he was necessarily in the game plan. I just think it's going to be a different type of game script than we saw last week against Pittsburgh. Just a unique team. They're going to play, like I said, very close to the vest. That's how you're going to see Pittsburgh try to win their games. I mean, they played an awful team yesterday in Denver, but they kind of did the same thing. I think that's how they're going to try to win. And I think, especially with the new quarterback coming off the injury week one, they really played a conservative type of game as well, Atlanta. I don't think they have the ability, or they don't have the luxury this week to really play a, kind of grind it out type of game with Philly, because Philly's going to try to score and attack and play a little bit more up-tempo, or a lot more up-tempo than Pittsburgh did. So I think we'll see a different type of offense. I don't think we see much of Ray McCloud at all in this one. I think you're going to get a lot of Bijan, run the ball, and then play action, deep shots. I think that's what you're going to see. You'll see a little bit more Kirk Cousins, Minnesota type of Cousins, I think, than we did last week, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, that's where my mindset is. I thought, with everything flipping week to week on the NFL, like Lazard, for instance, right? That I said, okay, 3,300 is too cheap for him on Sunday. Of course, he doesn't have even near the output he did at San Francisco. And then Ray McCloud, I'm like, well, Mooney plays more of the game. Ray McCloud played 54% of the snaps last week. Mooney plays more. It's a different defense. I'm with you on that. And then the other question I have is for Bijan, right? Or we pronounce him in Discord, Bijan. Silent J. Apostrophe. The defensive line for the Eagles really did a good job shutting down Jacobs last week. Do you see the same thing here for Bijan Robinson?
I don't think so. I think he's going to get his yards. I like him quite a bit in this game. Like I said, I think you give me straight up points against Barkley. I think Bijan winds up being the higher scorer between the two. So I like Robinson in this matchup. I think he's going to get his. That was a tricky game last week, footing wise. Like running up the middle last week was near impossible because you couldn't get your footing. It was good for the offenses as far as in the pass game, because when the field is kind of crappy, real tough to cover guys. So it was really hard to really know exactly what we were looking at in this game. It's going to be a different story here this week. I think they're going to be able to get Bijan. If they don't, then this is going to be a totally different. So if you don't like Bijan at all, that is going to be. I
don't love him at a 20-point output. I just don't love him there.
You don't love him at 20 points.
No, I have him at 17. I because I don't have him getting a touchdown. If he doesn't get a touchdown, I think 17 is good or high for him.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you just look at the betting market, he's over 100 yards. So give him he's like 10.5 points just in yards, another 4.5 for catches. They're basically projecting him at 15 without a touchdown. So
that's right. Yeah, I put up to 17.
Yeah, so that's that's fair, but he's pretty much even money to score a touchdown. So you're giving you're 50-50 here to get in the end zone. So if you want to give him 2 or 3 points there, if he gets in projected, that's kind of where we're at. We're at 18.
Yeah.
But again, when you look at Saquon, it's a similar situation, except half the reception. So he's only projected for 2.5 on the receptions, but he's minus 190 in the touchdown prop. So so I think they're really close. I just think there's a few ways. Look, there's a lot of ways we could look at. It's going to depend on what you think the game's. I think this is going to be a tight game, kind of throwing it. But I do think Bijan is going to have to set up the throw. I think I could see Philly relying more on Saquon here and less of the passing game. I could see them kind of using, especially in the first half, just kind of running Saquon a lot, in which case, maybe Saquon does become the top guy. Obviously, he's the number one guy. He's going to be the number one owned captain on the slate. He's going to be number one player on the slate. So if that's the game script there, you could see it without Brown. But I think they really don't want to overuse Barkley. I know his numbers look pretty good here in the betting market, but a couple of things. If the game does get out of hand, then that's where we could see Barkley getting a lot more rest. So if this game, if
then you go Gainwell.
Yeah, so you could play that game script as well, where Barkley kind of comes out, has a pretty good first half. He's got 50 yards in the first half, and a catch or two. Maybe he doesn't get in the end zone, but Philly, throwing the ball well, and then they kind of pull back on his production in the second half. You could see that type of a game script happening, where I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen with Bijan. So I have a little bit more confidence that no matter kind of how this game goes, they're going to be using Bijan a lot, unless, of course, they're down a lot and they got to throw. But they'll throw to Robinson as well.
Yeah, today's race is who has the most points, and that's your captain. It's not getting one of these $200 Jim Oaks in there where we usually have to do. So it makes the player pool easier. Saquon, I think he's pretty automatic for maybe 100-yard night rushing. That's 13 points. A touchdown, that's 19. And that doesn't include, probably getting 4 receptions for 40 yards. So I have a tough time not putting him at 24 points.
You should be hammering the prop markets then, because that's basically over on everything.
Yeah. We will be. We'll be putting parlays in the Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hammer it.
Okay. So then the question is, John, stats. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Your name's not John. It's Mark it's Mike from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That's right. I'm very much look like a guy from Tulsa.
You're in textiles, right?
Yes. Plastics.
Textile. No, you knit carpets. No, the question is, where does the volume of passing go then? Devontae Smith, we know it. I mean, 8.8K for that. That's probably the biggest lock on the board. Then where does it go? Does Goddard get more? Is Goddard 5,800 if 335 and one guy? Does he get I see Goddard getting a touchdown. If there's 3 touchdowns, I see him getting 1, Saquon 1, and 1 more out there. Where does it go?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. I think Goddard. I mean, the nice thing here with Philly is we can try to look for someone a little cheaper to move up. Goddard's going to be a red zone guy. They had the backup tight end also got Calcaterra. He got on the field. I mean,
he did. He got a catch.
Yeah. So I mean, I looked at what's his betting like. I mean, they're not really.
He's still expensive though, right? He's still expensive.
5,500 plus 5,500 to get a touchdown, which is not great at all. He's 2,400, so it's really, that would be a guy like a sub 1K guy where I'd really consider it. I don't think he's really playable here. But even a guy like that, when you're looking for gross numbers, even the Calcaterra, you don't want a 2x type night. You don't want a 5-point night. You need 10 points from him, which is a big night for Calcaterra. Yeah, absolutely. I just don't think you're going to get there with him. I think we're kind of looking, with Philly, we're trying to see who can step up. And look, I mean, we didn't talk about Dotson. So maybe that's the guy here. I mean, he's going to be in the number 2 role. He moves up to the 2 slot. That's good value there, I think, at 4K if you want to get away from it. Look, if Devonta Smith we're all figuring, the whole market is figuring, he's going to get the bulk of the passing game work. But we've already said he's really not a red zone guy. Maybe this is a game, maybe they're using Barkley a lot to kind of move the ball down the field. Maybe you get in the red zone, it's more of a Goddard, or, maybe they're going to cover, maybe they're going to cover Smith here, put all the focus here on Smith. I don't know if that's necessarily what they're going to do. I think you really have to stop. To me, I'd be more focused on a Barkley, but if that's the case, then maybe you get a Dotson getting a little bit more work here than maybe the entire market is thinking. But I just think when you have a receiver of an A.J. Brown, you get a number 1 type of guy out, elevates everybody else. That gives us a little bit of value here on the Philly side as far as, just kind of lifting everybody up on that depth chart on the receiving side. So,
like Ray McLeod, right? I mean, 7.8 night for Dotson is a 4-40 with no touchdown, right? That's a pretty decent night for him on a 260 yard passing night for Hurts. Do they pass the kickers at that point, right? Because if the Atlanta kicker at 5K gets 3 field goals and 2-point afters. He's 11 to 12 points. That's so now he's taking the top off of guys like Mooney, Dotson, and they become less relevant. That's the thing. So that's why I think these kickers, more so Koo. Is it Ko or Koo?
It's Koo. Yeah, it is Koo.
That was a test. You passed.
Yes,
Great job.
Yes.
More so Koo than Elliott, because I believe that the Eagles will get in the end zone more. That's why I like him a lot, even at a 10-point projection. As I think that he puts the ceiling on some of these other guys, unless they score. If Dotson scores 440 and 1, all bets are off.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, Koo's a great kicker. Pretty, I don't want to say he's automatic, but these guys are all pretty good these days. But Koo's good. But I agree, kind of taking the kicker, excuse me, on the dog, a 5.5-point dog, not as, it's not as attractive to me, because like you said, I kind of feel like they're going to have to put touchdowns up. The kickers in this game on the whole aren't believe it or not, in a game that I think is going to have some scoring, I do think the defenses have a little bit of interest, because both of these teams will be susceptible to turning the ball over.
Yes.
So I think the defenses are actually of more interest to me than the kickers are in this game.
So you believe the Eagles 4,400, the Falcons 3,400? Yes, because even look at yesterday. Look at yesterday. Even in a scoring game, the Cardinals' cheapest defense on the board was on the Millie winner, right?
Yes.
Shit like that happens. Falcons can run one back. Falcons can intercept. They've got Jesse Bates is a great safety, right? They've got a good secondary. They could do that, and you can't eliminate it based on the projection of 4 points, because it could be 11, right? If you got an 11-point Falcons team defense, even on a losing script, that's or 9 or 10 or 11, that's huge. Then you're ahead of Raymond McLeod. Then you're ahead of all the kickers. So I agree. 3,400 for Falcons defense, even if they lose, is something you have to look at. You have to force probably max min ownership of it, because you don't want too much of it. But
if you're mass entering, for sure. I always bring it up on these showdown shows, but I mean, like one of the biggest nights we ever had was a few years ago on a Thanksgiving game. It was a double defense, double quarterback. So it happens, right? So we had Saints. It was like Drew Brees. Matter of fact, it was Atlanta with Matt Ryan, both defenses. It was one of those where they were getting the ball, like driving the ball down the field, a ton of yardage, some touchdowns, but the defenses were scoring as well. So when you have that kind of a wacky lineup, that's how you ship a big GPP in a showdown, because no one's playing both quarterbacks with both defenses. But I think this is actually, I mean, is that ever necessarily a lineup that you foresee hitting? No, of course not. That's why nobody plays it. But I think you could play two quarterback with one of these defenses at least here, if you want to take a bit of a wacky type of lineup here and get a high scoring game like we saw, like you said, with Arizona, and still be. There was another team, I think, who actually gave up a lot of points, and the defense. The Bears, like a couple of weeks ago, gave up a bunch of points and scored a couple of times. So it happens, and I think we're going to get at least 3 turnovers in this game. So if we could get, I think both quarterbacks throw a pick. If one of them gets returned, of course, that changes everything. So it's typically not a good thing for us. I know Mark doesn't like to play a lot of defense and kickers, but every time they
showed up on like 80% of the slates last year, it seemed, even in like high scoring games.
It was a ton last year, and the league is changing. I keep waiting for the offenses to kind of explode. We're seeing more run calls. So there've been more run plays. I believe I heard that stat yesterday than we've seen over the last few years. So the league, while it was kind of evolving into a pass every down, high scoring league. Last year we saw the game totals come down. I really thought we've really seen 3 years. It's been about 3 years in a row where the totals have started to come down. We see more and more games in the 30s, less and less games totals in the 50s, and teams are running the ball a whole lot more. So that doesn't seem in the first couple of weeks to really have changed all that much. And we're not seeing the big stacks necessarily win, like the Millie winner was a wacky one, typically is. It was a wacky one with like Daniel Jones at the quarterback yesterday. But
there you go, Beanair. We said it.
Where's Beanair?
He put it already. Wiley, can you tell me who the quarterback was in the Millie Maker winner? Yes. Yes. I'll tell you the running backs were. It was J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason.
Was Mason in the? Yeah, Mason was in the winner. Yeah, that's right.
Is Mason, Dobbins, McBride.
Well, Kamara.
Cardinals defense. Kamara. If you didn't have Kamara, it was over.
Yeah.
It was by touchdown number 4. You were just like, you faded him. Have a good night.
I had a massive over on Kamara, and the cup injury might have cost me $1 million in FanDuel. So
the cup injury.
Yeah,
that was the one chalk play that I thought was the best value on the board that killed us. Yes.
Yeah, that was brutal. But the cores yesterday were, or my core, they did pretty well. But Cup was in there, and that was brutal. Hurt a lot of people.
This is the only time, and I think ever in the NFL history that someone scored 3 touchdowns. A team scored 3 touchdowns, did not give up a touchdown, and lost
in regulation. It happened once in overtime.
It's kind of a bit here that on teams I hate, I say that all they're going to do is get like 7 field goals, and it happened yesterday with the Commanders. Wiley, can you reach the top shelf? Yeah, that's why I have ladders, big boy. All right, so on that one point about if you have a certain philosophy or conviction about your game script, make sure and do, like, if you play max entry, make sure and do like 5. Tell me if this is right or wrong. Do 5 to 10% of your lineups with a complete inverse of your thought process, right? Because if I had done that with a complete inverse, literally I said no Achane, no Cook, and no Jonnu Smith. Cook first touchdown, Achane next touchdown, and then they literally did a fuck you, Wiley, and said our first pass is going to Jonnu Smith.
Yeah. Well, if you're playing 150 max, then it's kind of all bets. So you're going to play some. You have to play some wacky lineups. I think the only thing I would really stay away. I know JBC kind of preaches that he hates the 5-1 lineups. They'll hit on occasion. I think the 5-1s are tough. I would stick.
Do you think 5-1's viable tonight? Right now,
I don't think it is.
I dumb these down. I got 27% on my first Saber Sim build with contest sims. I'm like, that's not right. That is assuming that all these projections hit, and it does. If one projection hits for Goddard, that means he's taking away from someone else. So that's why these 5-1s hit. Would you do it 10% of your builds max?
Of 5-1s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go. I would go even less. I don't like it particularly tonight.
No.
The 5-1 builds. I could even see, like a 2-3. Like a 2-4 Atlanta. 4. You could go 2-4 Atlanta or 4-2. I don't mind the 4-2s, but I actually like more. I like going with more Atlanta players here, either a 3-3 or a 4-2 Atlanta.
On a losing script?
On a losing script, yeah.
Okay.
So with a Cousins in there, I don't mind taking a Cousins with a Bijan. I don't even mind. See, a lot of people aren't playing Cousins at the captain. I think that's a sneaky, well, let's talk about how many captains you're going to use. Like, which guys do you want to use a captain, first of all? Who are we Xing out? Like, not the X out, but where are we capping it?
Well, it's Barkley and Smith 1-2 for me because of those projections that are high. If I had to pick 3 captains, Bijan would be probably next, and then Jalen, but he would have to run one in for me to like it that much. I do have some Cousins because you want to do some uniques here and get sort of the oddball lineups, not just follow what the field is doing. But I have Cousins at a decent night for him, unless he goes over 300 yards. I have at 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, and nothing on the ground. That's 16 points.
What do you have? 230. Go ahead. And
230, 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
And
that's about the market. Yeah.
About 15, 16 points. Okay.
Yeah.
It still puts me on 3 Cousins captain lineups, which I want. I don't want everything consolidated into 1 or 2 or 3 guys. I mean, yeah, Cousins. Give me a Atlanta kicker captain lineup for sure.
Oh,
So
now I'm just gonna have to yell at you for JBC on that one, but because he doesn't
like
like that.
kickers.
He doesn't like the kickers in the captain spot.
So who was almost the captain, JBC, in the San Francisco Jets game?
You could have it out with him.
Yeah, no, but it's got to be one of these high volume guys, a captain. Do you not agree?
I think it's gonna. Yeah, I don't think we have to go too deep at captain today. I agree with you. I mean, odds are pretty good. It's going to be one of these running backs. I seem to like Robinson a little bit more than you do today, but I know some people are not, or quite a few people will not put Cousins in there at the captain spot. I think you have to have him in there in the 150 builds. I think both quarterbacks are going to be viable for the captain spot. I think you want to have Goddard in there as well as a possible captain because I think the multi-touchdown potential is there.
He's number 3.
Yeah, so I think you have to have those guys. So it's really Smith, Goddard, the 2 running backs, both quarterbacks. I think for me is where I'm going to cap it.
Yeah, I have. Put Goddard only because of his price. Now that would imply a touchdown. So he's gonna have a night and not be a fucking dusty ass old tight end like every other dusty ass old tight end in the league right now.
All right, so TJ, see TJ's comment there on Cousins coming out early. I've heard that from quite a few people. There will be a lot of people play that tonight who will play Penix.
Well, just keep him in for like 2%.
Yeah, people will have them for 100. I mean, if it happens, you'll see those lineups in there. People do it no matter who.
On injury or on sort of coaching?
No, a lot of people think he gets pulled in the game. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're pulling Kirk Cousins week 2. It would have to be a disaster of a game for it to happen. Of course, we can never say nothing is 100%. So that's why people do play it. And I think we're going to get a higher number of people actually playing the backup here and looking for that pull. So I don't know if we're going to even get as much value in doing that as we normally would. But
it's got to be early. It's got to be
early in the game. I won't do it. We usually never do. But I am hearing a lot of chatter on that, and so we'll see. But I don't think that'll happen. I know people are going to throw a few of those lineups in there, but I think they get, it's going to, if injury, of course, is whatever, but I don't think it's a coach's decision that he comes out of this game unless it's a mess. And then, and again, it would have to be early in this game. Otherwise, he's not going to have any value. And if they pull him fourth quarter, there's no value there. What people are banking on is like a halftime adjustment, like, hey, we're just bringing in Penix and that's it.
If they're getting blown out, yes. But at that point, all bets are off. Like, I just think that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are a force, are just monsters, and they sort of abuse Green Bay. I mean, they really put so much pressure on Jordan Love last week and Josh Jacobs. So that's why I don't like Bijan a lot tonight, and I'm going to take that and just bring him down a little bit. But I think Kirk Cousins is a better night than he did against Pittsburgh. I think he throws more. So yeah, there you go. All right.
Yeah, I think so. The pressure last week, I think a lot of it has to do with the field. So, like I said, I think you have an advantage offensively with the receivers. I thought the offensive line, though, has a big disadvantage in pass protection when the field is like that because you're absorbing. So, like, I've got my feet underneath me as I'm coming at you as a defender, as the pass rusher, and it's a lot harder if you ever, not that I've played a lot of offensive line in my life, but in the old. In my old two-hand touch leagues, which were violent, worse than when I played tackle football in pads, and we played on ice and slippery stuff. I mean, blocking is really a lot tougher. You want to be the guy who's the aggressor going at you. You can't really get your footing. So I think that had a lot to do with it last week. It was just a wacky week. Listen, if I'm wrong, then if they get pressure on Cousins, it's not like he's going to be able to elude it. And then this game goes a different way. So I think certainly that's a possibility. Philly gets pressure on. If Philly gets pressure on him, then you have to play a different game script. Then I think Bijan, to your point, maybe does not become as good a play here if they're getting pressure on the quarterback. Then the only way Bijan is it becomes good is they're going to get a lot of dump offs because Cousins will have to do what he did last week, which was mostly short passes. If you watch Cousins, the passes he completed, he had zip on the ball, but it was really his first read because it was like he was in shotgun. Pretty much most of the game, shotgun. Nope, not much of a drop back, if any drop back at all. And it was kind of back foot, hit the receiver, back foot. And for the most part, he was pretty accurate with the ball. It was when his first look wasn't there, then he was in trouble. So when he had to look to, when he was going through his progressions and he got to the third look, he just didn't have enough time to throw the ball. So,
and you have to write off week one. Listen, the fucking Patriots beat the Bengals. Goddard 2 touchdowns tonight. I'm kind of there with you. I'm kind of there with on just the whole tight end script. Someone up, Alec Akins. Yeah, I think Pitts and Goddard. I think Pitts.
Well, here's the thing: if we're banking on Goddard to score a lot of touchdowns, do we want to play him with Barkley? I know Barkley's going to do a lot, and maybe doesn't have to get in the end zone, but maybe we get, if Goddard,
I could see 3 touchdowns between the two of them. That's I think
you can.
Barkley
of course.
Barkley gets at least one. He just gets at least one. I'll stake my everything on it.
Okay.
Goddard, I don't see him getting 2, but I see him getting 1, and then there's some sort of Gainwell bullshit. The toughest thing for me is the cheapies on the not the Falcons, but the cheapies on the Eagles, the Gainwells, the Coveys, now the Campbell and the Calcaterras. That kind of makes me a little afraid. I feel like one of those 3 could do something.
Well, you still have, they ran that tush push crap. And again, I hate to keep going back to the field, but that was another play that was really difficult to run on that footing. Couldn't get your footing, couldn't really get a good push off the line. That you never know when Hurts is going to steal 2 touchdowns from you either. So they're still going to run that play down by the goal line. And, all of a sudden that takes away the Barkley touchdowns.
No, I have no touchdowns with his feet for Hurts, which is dangerous. And I still am at a 21-point night, right? Not even a 300 passing yard night. He's going to get 30 to 40 yards running regardless. So that's 3 to 4 points and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, when you do 150 lineups, are all 150 different?
Never a dupe.
You never do a dupe.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you do like 4 game scripts and uploading them at the last minute, you get a couple of dupes. But tonight, I don't think you need a dupe.
I've seen people put 150 of the same lineup in before. Now I don't know if they did it intentionally or it was
it's a dummy lineup. It's a dummy lineup.
Yeah, the dummy lineup, and it's pretty frustrating when you're not in a showdown. I don't know if I've seen it in a showdown, but I've seen it in other things. And when the guy's right in front of you for big money, and you got to pass 150,
I mean,
you're half a point out.
There's one guy in the NHL, I won't mention his name, but he'll do that intentionally. He'll do a full slate of the same lineup, and when he hits, he has this train of 1 to 110 of just him.
Well, it's idiotic because the drop off from first to it's just it doesn't really make much sense. Like you're really trying to hit. You're basically playing a single entry, and the drop off in most of these GPPs from first place down to like 5th place is dramatic.
Yeah.
So you're not. I don't know what you really gain in doing that.
Cousins could throw 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. Yes, pick 6. Yes, he could.
Absolutely, which is why I'm saying I think that could. I think both of these teams. I think Hurts could throw them too. I mean, there's this notion like Hurts is like some great thrower of the foot. He's not that great a passer. I'm sorry. I know there'll be Philly fans in here losing their mind. He's not that great a thrower either. But what I think he does, he'll throw the ball downfield. So I think that's what we're going to see. I think that's why we'll see some big plays tonight from both sides. I think Atlanta might be susceptible to giving some of that up. But I agree. I think we could see either one of these teams with a pick 6. That's why I'm kind of leaning more defenses than offenses than the kickers. And I would look to I would not be shy to throw a defense in there against the quarterback that they're up against.
I feel Vikings Cousins came into Philly when he was a massive underdog and absolutely smashed either last year or the year before. That's just from memory, but Cousins. I think Atlanta plays an entirely different game, and I think they show up today. And I think it's closer to what people think. Josh Luck. So you don't enter all 150 by hand. So we have SaberSim here at Rumpier Sports, or an optimizer is going to do that for you. It's going to build the 150 CSV for you and you upload it automatically.
Wiley, back before these optimizers were a thing,
it was by hand.
I used to build 150 PGA. You can't do it. It's tough to do it with you can't do it with NBA and stuff like that. But I used to sit there and build 150 PGA lineups by hand. It was
But
pretty.
just go in the app and just do it one
No,
by
no,
one.
I would go in with a spreadsheet and then trying to get the allocations proper, and trying to get the right mix of golfers and whatnot. MMA, I would do the same thing. Make 150, and you try not to get, you try to get variation in the lineups. That was a fun, 5 hours a night spending or something like that with Excel, figuring out those lineups. Yeah, Sabres made that job a lot easier.
I went on my 5-mile walk today, and I said, you know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm going to hand build 150 lineups. Much to Josh's question, I said, I'm going to just do it by hand. And I thought, you're fucking stupid.
Did you actually think that? Did you have that?
I thought I would do it. I said, I'm so convicted on these top-end captains. I'm just going to do exactly what I want to do. And I thought, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah. Have your brain outthink a calculator like SaberSim.
When you figure out the cost per hour of you doing that.
And then if by the end you're like, oh, I did it, and you have 17 dupes.
Yeah. And you were totally wrong, which was even better. You're like, I just 5 hours of my life and I have nothing close to hitting.
Hey man, great work. All right, let's do snake draft, and then we'll get out of here.
Let's go.
Snake draft brought to you by DraftKings and AutoZone. Get in the zone. So here's the rules of snake draft: no duplications. Your number one captain, your top 3 captains. Okay. Top 3 captains. You go first. I pick 2.
So I get to pick 3? No, I can't pick 3.
Your top 3 captains.
Okay.
Yeah, snake draft.
Okay.
You go first. No dupes. Number one.
What do you mean no dupes?
No dupes. Just go with the rules of snake draft. It's snake draft.
Got it. Well, I got to take. I'm going to take Bijan.
Okay, wait. My turn.
Go ahead.
I'll go Saquon.
Go ahead. I gave you the best pick.
I get Saquon and Devontae.
Okay. I will go. Give me
2.
Me Hurts.
Hurts. One more.
And Goddard.
Okay, I'll go Bijan for my 3rd.
Well, if I took Bijan, didn't I take Bijan?
I don't recall that.
That was my first pick.
No.
I don't believe you could dupe. You get Cousins.
The best is we spent 15 minutes doing snake draft with golf on Wednesday with Keith. It's just this total bullshit. No, I do like the 3 highest grossing players on the slate: Saquon, Devontae, and you may have talked me into Bijan, but he's got to get a fucking touchdown, John. He's got to get a touchdown.
Bijan, look, he's minus 130 in the market, which is about, when you take the juice out, he's even money to get in. I think they're going to use him a lot. If anything inside the 5, they're going to be using him. I like Bijan's chances to get in there.
I mean, Kirk's not running it in.
Well, Kirk is not. You look at the numbers. You look at his betting prop to score a touchdown. I think it's like 55. Yeah, 50 plus 5,500 to get in the end zone. So, yeah, that's not happening. It's going to take a fumble recovery on a botched snap.
Here's the one guy we didn't talk about. I think we know everything else. The one guy that I'm like, this guy's. We're going to be second and goal at the 5. You have Bijan. You have Pitts. Kirk Cousins is not going to run it in. It's not going to be one of these wide receivers. And then Charlie Warner gets a touchdown.
It happens. It seemingly happens.
2-10-1.
It happens on every showdown slate because it happens in most.
Oh, Algier. Yes, Michael Tyler. Yes. And Algier's expensive. He is in Ray McLeod land, right? So no one's going to play Algier.
No, they won't. And he did not get on the field all that much. So, if you're going to do it, like I said, it's not someone I'm going to necessarily tout, but those are the type of plays that you're like, at the end of the night, you're like, oh, who the fuck would have played? But some idiot played them and won a shit ton of money doing it. So,
C. McDonald, I believe this with A.J. Brown out and Hurts not being the passer that everyone thinks he might be. I agree. I think it's going to be close. I could see the Falcons winning, but I think the Eagles' defensive front is just too heavy and too fierce. So there you go. We did it. Snake draft and everything. Perfect. No dupes. Absolutely flawless.
No dupes. Yeah, you did well with that.
All right, get your baseball done.
That's what I'm going to do now. I'll be posting.
Baby.
I got to post the stack probs in Discord.
Yeah, join us today. RPS 15. You get to talk to Mike from Oklahoma about his textile company, his rug making. You get to talk to him every day. RPS 15 code. Run Pure Sports. Get our Discord. Talk to his stats tonight. He's got all kinds of stuff. He's the best in every sport. This guy right here, smartest and best.